Hello viewers, welcome to my own YouTube channel. We have discussed most of the parts in coordination chemistry. Now some important MCQ solving classes will be there. So if you like the video, please uh, subscribe my channel and please do share with your friends so that they should also get the benefit from it. So without wasting time, let's go to our class. Now mm, now you see here the first MCQ is like that. Now what is the correct name for CrNH3 whole 6 Cl3? If you have seen the video of lecture 5 of coordination chemistry, you should easily be able to answer this question as as you can see that the anion the counter ion is negative. So the part that is present in the coordination sphere, that is CrNH3 whole 6. If the counter ion is negative, we should write down the name of the coordination sphere first. You can see here that there are 6 ammonia ligands are present. So this will be hexamine, and then you should write down the name of the IUPAC of the central metal atom, that is the chromium. So hexamine chromium, you can identify the oxidation number from here. You can take it as X plus 0 minus 3 is equals to 0, that is equals to plus 3. So the name should be hexamine chromium. The oxidation number is 3, and the counter ion, then you can write down the counter ion, that is chloride. So you can see that the option number A is absolutely correct. So the option A is the correct answer for this question. So you if you haven't seen my video of lecture number 5, you should see the video, so you should be able to answer the IUPAC questions easily. Now the next one, in the formation of K4FeCN6, the hybridization involved is. Now I have done the MCQs for you. Now you see, also this is also present in my lecture number 3, K4FeCN6. K4FeCN6. Now you can see that iron has a atomic number of 26, that is 3d6 4s2. In case of, you can find out the oxidation number from here, so that is +2. In case of +2, iron has an electronic configuration of 3d6 4s0. So you can write down the electrons, you can give the electrons in the d orbital, that will be like that. Now cyanide is a very strong ligand, so it will do the forceful pairing. So if it does the forceful pairing, the exactly this example was given in my lecture. So forceful pairing is done. Now there are 6 ligands. Cyanide is an ambidentate ligand, which actually acts as a monodentate ligand. That will give one cyanide will give 2 electrons each. So 6 cyanide will give 12 electrons. So we can fill the electrons like this. So the hybridization becomes D2sp3 hybridization. That is D2sp3, because 2 d orbitals are occupied, 1 s orbital is occupied, 3 p orbital is occupied. It is known as D2sp3 hybridization. Actually it is an inner orbital complex with a magnetic momentum of 0. Exactly this example was given in my lecture. You can see the lecture. So now we see that D2sp3 is present here or not. Yes, the option number B is correct. D2sp3 hybridization is there. So this is the correct answer. We can match the answer to as B is the correct option. Now in this case, Ziegler-Natta catalyst is organometallic compound. Actually organometallic compound is a bridge between organic chemistry and your inorganic chemistry. In case of organometallic compounds, there should be a direct bond between the metal and the carbon or organic moiety. So in case of Ziegler-Natta catalyst, is an industrially important catalyst. Generally it is composed of aluminum and titanium. So titanium is the answer. You can see here that 3D is the correct answer. What is the formula of ferrocene? So formula of ferrocene, if you have to find out the formula of ferrocene, this will be the answer D. But how? You should see here ferrocene. That is the Ziegler-Natta catalyst, TiCl4 plus Al(C2H5) whole 3. You can see the ferrocene. Ferrocene, this one is ferrocene. This one is ferrocene. Actually, this is a very important part. Ferrocene is an organometallic compound. Actually, in 1926, ferrocene was first produced. A scientist who wanted to make Grignard reagent accidentally produced ferrocene, but the exact theory was proposed by Warner and his co-worker, and this was done in approximately 1960s. So ferrocene is a sandwich compound. What is sandwich compound? The iron atom is placed between two cyclopentadienyl rings. Actually, these kind of compounds are known as sandwich compounds. Ferrocene, iron is present, that's why it is ferrocene. Cobalt is present, that is cobaltocene. Nickel is present, then it will be nickelocene. Then also there are many compounds such as dibenzene, chromium, etc. So ferrocene has a definite amount of definite importance in the industrial chemistry, because in case of anti-knocking compounds, we used TEL. TEL means tetraethyl lead. This is very important. You should note down. In 1990s, we used TEL, tetraethyl lead, as a anti-knocking compound. But nowadays, ferrocene, the derivative of ferrocene, DPPF, diphenyl phosphine ferrocene, is generally used instead of TEL, because TEL is a compound of lead. So in the internal combustion engine, when TEL is combusted, a number of byproducts which are generally harmful in nature goes out into the atmosphere. That is very, very harmful for our ecosystem. That's why nowadays, if you go to a petrol pump, there will be a signboard which says there's unleaded petrol, means no TEL is used. But for the anti-knocking compound, we use now ferrocene, derivative of ferrocene, DPPF, diphenyl phosphine ferrocene. Actually, ferrocene is an organometallic compound. You can see here, it is very important. You can see here, the iron is placed between two cyclopentadienyl rings. Cyclopentadienyl rings. Actually, the iron is not directly bonded with any of the carbon atom. It is actually bonded with the ring cloud which is present here. So the iron is not directly bonded with any of the carbon atom. It is bonded with the ring cloud. So this is known as ferrocene. So what will be the structure? C5. Now you see here, C5H5 whole 2. Now you see C5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. So C5H5 whole 2 becomes for this Fe. Now you see, this is the correct answer. The 4D is the correct answer. So we have done this. Now going to the next question. Color. It is also very important. So which of the following statement is correct? Now you see here. For this kind of question, you have to do the VBT. Now you see, CuNH3 whole 6 2 plus is a colorless ion. No, this is wrong, because if you see here that in +2 oxidation state, copper has a D9 configuration which produces an unpaired electron. So if an unpaired electron is present, the compound is definitely colored in nature. Generally, there are some exceptions also. So generally, if there is an unpaired electron, the complex is colored in nature. So if you see here, it is +2 oxidation state. Ammonia has a 0 oxidation number, so Cu is in the +2 oxidation state. That means it has a +1 oxidation state. It has one unpaired electron, so it is a colorful ion, not a colorless ion. NiCN whole 4 is definitely not a tetrahedral shape. It is a square planar compound, because you can see here it is a strong ligand, so it will do the forceful pairing, and the structure will become dsp2 hybridization with 0 magnetic momentum, with a square planar geometry. Now you can see here ZnH2O whole 6 2 plus. H2O is a neutral ligand. You can see here zinc is in the +2 oxidation state. You can see zinc has an atomic number of 30. So it has an electronic configuration of 4s2 3d10. if you see it, in the +2 oxidation state, 2 electrons will be eliminated from the s orbitals and the d10 configuration will be there. If d10 configuration is there, then d is fully filled, so there is no unpaired electron, so the color is not blue, it will be colorless. So zinc in +2 always produces colorless complexes. In case of this one, this is very important complex, nickel dimethyl glyoxime. It is also known as dimethyl glyoxamito nickel 2. Generally, in your laboratory, when you want to confirm the nickel +2 ion, you will do this kind of test. In the alkaline medium, you will add the DMZ solution into a nickel +2 compound or solution, and this will produce a cherry red color complex. So this complex is a chelate and it will be stable by the hydrogen bonding. So the option number 4 is definitely correct. Dimethyl glyoxamito nickel 2 is a red color complex. So option number 4 or D is correct. So you can see here 5 as a answer of D. The next one. Which among the following complexes is a square planar geometry? You can see here. Square planar geometry. Now you can see which one has a square planar geometry. Now you can see here acetyl acetaneto is a chelating ligand. So oxovanadium, the acetyl acetaneto is a chelating ligand. So it will form a two-dimensional compound. That's why this acetyl acetaneto is a square planar complex. Now you can see here 6 is answer of D. Then the next one. Now you can see here. Which of the following statement is correct about the crystal field splitting energy? Now, if you remember my CFT, then we discussed about, now you can see here, if I have done, yes. In case of octahedral ligand field, in my video lecture, I told you that in octahedral ligand field, the 5 degenerate orbitals get split up into 2 types of orbitals. One is T2G, another is EG. So the T2G becomes your triply degenerate. You can see here 3 d orbitals, dxy, dyz, and dzx are in the same energy level. That's why they are called triply degenerate. And in case of EG, there are dx square minus y square and dz square in the same energy level that are known as EG. So this is doubly degenerate, this is triply degenerate. Now you can see here this option that you can see T2G orbitals are 3-fold degenerate, where EG is 2-fold degenerate. You can see here T2G 1, 2, 3, 3 dx, 3 d orbital, dxy, dyz, dzx, they are in the same energy. And here you can see dx square minus y square and dz square, they are in the same energy. So 2 orbitals means doubly degenerate. Here 3 orbitals are triply degenerate. So option number D is correct. Now you can see the answer 7D. Now question number 8. The geometry of NiCN4 2- and NiCl4 2-. We have discussed it in VVT. In case of NiCN4 2-, this will have a hybridization of DsP2, and NiCl4 will have a hybridization of sp3. In case the internet connection is disrupted. Okay, sorry about the disruption. Now you see here, in case of NiCN4 2- and NiCl4 2-, from VVT we saw that the structure NiCN4 2- was the hybridization of NiCN4 2- was DsP2, and NiCl4 2- was sp3. If it is DsP2, then it is a square planar. If it is sp3, then it is a tetrahedral. So this will be square planar, this will be tetrahedral. In case of 8, the option you can see option number D is correct, square planar and tetrahedral. So 8D is the correct answer. Okay. Now you see among the NiCO4, NiCN4 2 minus, NiCl4 2 minus, all the examples are present in my VBT's lecture. You can see here NiCO4. I have definitely um, done this complex because this is a extraordinary complex. It will form a sp3 hybridization with a magnetic momentum of 0 because it is an exceptional compound. So it has a tetrahedral shape. So NiCO4 and NiCN4 are diamagnetic. Yes, definitely diamagnetic, because in case of NiCN4, I have done it or not. No, this is easy question. So is in case of it is in my lecture number 2, I think. NiCO4 is sp3. It is diamagnetic. NiCN4, it is also diamagnetic, dsp2 hybridization. NiCl4, it has a sp3 hybridization. So you can see, so this one is correct option. NiCO4 and NiCN4 2 minus are diamagnetic, but NiCl4 is paramagnetic. You can see here this one NiCl4, it is question number 8, but you can see from here NiCN4 is a square planar strong ligand forceful pairing at dsp2 diamagnetic, or it is NiCl4 tetrahedral weak ligand paramagnetic. Now comes the most important question, the compound which does not show paramagnetism. This question is actually number 10 has wrong options. That's why I did not I have not done this. Number 11, I have done this. Okay. Among the following ions, which one has the highest paramagnetism? Now you can see you should draw the VBT. If you draw the VBT, the complex which contains higher number of unpaired electrons is highly paramagnetic in nature. Now you can see I have done it, I think. Okay. CrH2O whole 6 3 plus. You can see chromium is in the +3 oxidation state. Chromium has an electronic configuration of 4s1 3d5. So in +3 there will be 3 electrons in the d orbital. So 3, I have written 3 electrons. So in case of H, in my lecture number 2, I said that chromium in +3 never does the forceful pairing and always produces a complex with a magnetic momentum of 3.92 bm with 3 unpaired electrons. You can see the lecture. Now here chromium has three unpaired electrons. So 6 H2O ligands are present. 1 H2O ligand will give 2 electrons. 6 H2O ligand will give 12 electrons. So 2 2 4 plus 2 6 plus 2 8 plus 2 10 plus 2 12. So what happens? There are 3 unpaired electrons. So paramagnetism is the magnetic momentum becomes 3.92. In case of iron, the second one, I think the second one, B, iron, if the complex is FeH2O whole 6 2 plus. In case of iron, you can see the +2 oxidation state. Iron contains 4 unpaired electrons. No forceful pairing will be done because H2O is a weak ligand. Now you can see here 6 H2O ligands means 12 electrons. So 12 electrons are given. This is also present in my VBT class. You can see the lecture. So electrons are given. So sp3d2 hybridization is done. 4 unpaired electrons. 4 unpaired electron means the magnetic momentum is 4.92 bm or 4.82 bm. Now you can see here from CuH2O whole 6 2 plus. In case of copper, H2O is a neutral ligand. So copper has a +2 oxidation state. So it has 1 unpaired electron present in it. So if 1 unpaired electron means 1.732 bm is present, because the formula becomes root over n into n plus 2. So 1 into 1 plus 2 means root over 3. That is 1 unpaired electron is present. Magnetic momentum is 1.732. In case of zinc, there is in +2 there is no unpaired electron. So it has no magnetic momentum. So what you have done here, we came to the conclusion that FeH2O whole 6 2 plus has the highest magnetic momentum. So it is shows highest paramagnetism. Now you can see the question number 11, it has the answer of question number 11, answer of B, that is iron. We have seen that here iron contains FeH2O whole 6 2 plus contains 4 unpaired electrons. The next one. In my first lecture, I have discussed about pi acid ligands. We have definitely seen that which of the following is a pi acid ligand. We have definitely seen that carbon monoxide, cyanide are pi acid ligands. So 12 should answer. Option number B should be the answer of question number 12. That is 12B. The formula of dichlorido-bis-urea copper 2. In my lecture number 5, I solved some IUPAC. Now you see here, this is the formula of urea, CONH2 whole 2. Now you see dichlorido-bis urea. Bis urea means 2 urea molecules are present. So here 2 urea, and dichlorido means 2 Cl, 2 molecule Cl2, 2 Cl ligands are present. So this is the structure dichlorido bis urea. Dichlorido stands for 2 Cl ligands. Bis stands for 2 urea. Bis urea means 2 urea ligands are present. That's why this is the structure. Now here the oxidation state of iron in the brown ring complex, this is an exceptional one. Iron, you know that iron generally shows two types of oxidation states. One is +2, another is +3. But here the nitrosyl is a positive ligand. So iron should show a +1 oxidation state. How you should see here, X plus 0 plus 1 minus 2 is equal to 0. That is equals to +1. So this is an abnormal complex. This is a brown ring complex. When you do this experiment in your laboratory for nitrate ion, you will see that you should first dissolve the given salt in some amount of water, and that freshly prepared ferrous sulfate solution or more salt solution you should add, and then heat the solution and then cool down. Then you should add H2SO4 without disturbing the previous solution, and there will be a brown colored ring that will be produced in the junction of the two liquids. That is known as this IUPAC. You should see the IUPAC: penta-aqua nitroso or nitrosyl iron 1 sulfate. So iron 1 means iron has an oxidation number of +1 here. Now question number 15, you should see LiLH4. Now you should here. Now you should see this is the structure of LiLH4, lithium aluminium hydride. Now you can see that here aluminium has a +3 oxidation state. If lithium should be present here, lithium has a +1 oxidation state. So the hydrogen should be in the -1 oxidation state. So this is known as in this case H- act as a ligand. Now you can see here. Now you can see in this compound, this is not compound, this is complex. Lithium tetrahydroaluminate, LiLH4, lithium tetrahydroaluminate. Now you can see, if you write down the IUPAC nomenclature, this is a counter ion that is positive. You should write down the name of lithium first, then we will go to the third bracket, that is the coordination sphere. We should write down the name of the ligands first. Tetrahydro, here aluminate, because the counter ion is positive. So H- is the ligand, there is not the hydrido. The next one, which of the following is an organometallic complex? Organometallic complex means there should be a direct bond between the metal and the organic moiety. That is methyl lithium is the answer. Methyl lithium, because there is a direct bond between CH3 and Li. Like this, Grignard reagents, CH3 MgBr is also a organometallic compound. So in today's video, I will end the video here. For if you like the video, and for more such videos, you can subscribe my channel, and also if you like the video, then also share with your friends that they can also get benefited from this kind of video. For watching the video, I thank you all. Goodbye.